This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
Every year, JP Morgan puts out their guide to retirement. And this year, it included a statement that said something like, for Americans, the magic number for retirement is 1.26 million. But then it goes on to say it's easy to forget that the retirement isn't really about hitting a specific dollar. It's about replacing your current income with a one so you can sustain your lifestyle. So isn't that what you've been telling us all along? I mean, you mentioned this earlier.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Retirement is about income planning more than anything else. It's not about who has the most assets, because we can't eat brick and mortar. We've got to have cash flow that can buy us groceries. And so it's income, baby. That's the name of the game, absolutely. And so people approaching retirement really need to assess what types of income do they have. Is it just Social Security, or are there pensions in place? Do we have income contracts, often known as annuities? Those are wonderful products that I have a number of them that absolutely will guarantee that my wife is totally fine when I'm dead and gone. There will be income that comes in. Granted, she's going to have to live within the constraints of how much income hits the bank account, but she will always have income. And that, at the end of the day, is really what it's about. It's about income planning. And I don't like this idea of talking about a magic number, because it just differs for everyone. Some people do need a big chunk of money, but others can get away just fine with much less. I mean, I often meet with people who, between military pensions and Social Security and government pensions that they had post-military, working for the county or working for some of these defense contractors, their pension income often far exceeds their income needs, and they don't necessarily need to have as much saved as others who have to live off of their savings because it's all they have. So this is very unique to each individual, and if people don't know how secure they are, come visit with us. We'll do a financial readiness review with you and assess your income sources and look at your different assets, see if you perhaps need to convert some of those assets into income generating opportunities. We can help with all those things. That's where we specialize. So come visit with us.
Again, if you'd like to come in for this complimentary financial readiness review, give a call today. That phone number, 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. Again, the website about Mark and the team, and of course these upcoming events at mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. This is kind of a long shot here, Mark, but stick with me here. Did you know that about 60% of people who tried to escape from prison, they're caught within 24 hours? Not a well-thought-out plan. You know what I mean? 85% are captured in a week. So what's that got to do with retirement? Well, one article I read said prison escapes and retirement, they're similar because of this. I mean, the inmates, they're focused on just getting out. They're not going to plan much. Their goal is get over the fence and I'll figure it out from there. Well, it's the same way with retirement if you think about it. I mean, in the same way, a lot of people are just focused on reaching the retirement finish line, not necessarily making a plan for afterwards. How do you help us do that?
Oh, my heavens, I really love that analogy. I hadn't heard that before. Certainly many of us think that work is a form of prison. I hope not, but for many people it is, and it gets where all they can think of is just getting out. What scares me about that is two people have thought about what they're going to do on the other side, just as you said. How are we going to spend our days? We all know what we're trying to get away from, the stupid boss, the coworkers, the commute, whatever it is, the stress of work. We know what we're trying to get away from, but what is it we're actually trying to get to? How are we going to spend our days? After the first 4 to 6 weeks, it doesn't feel like vacation anymore, and people often struggle, particularly men. I find this can be very traumatic transitioning into retirement because they just don't have a plan for how they're going to spend their days. And so we encourage people not only to learn to live on your future retirement budget, but also learn to actually do the things that you're hoping to do in retirement and see, will it fill your time okay? There's a funny story that just occurred to me. I've got this brother-in-law who retired in his early 50s. He had worked with Metro Police Department as a homicide detective. I don't know if he's listening today, but he came to me about 9 months into his retirement. He showed up at my office one day, which had never happened before, and he said, "Can we talk?" And I'm like, "Well, sure, So we went out, took a walk around the building, and he says, "I'm driving your sister nuts." And I said, "Excuse me? What are you talking about?" He said, "I'm driving your sister nuts." He said, "I've been looking forward to to retirement all these years. He worked really intensely as a homicide detective and witnessed horrible things, of course. But he said, I thought she would be looking forward to having me home the way I was looking forward to being home, but she's got all her own routines. And then he capped it off with the funniest thing. He said, what I miss most is the structure. I thought it was going to be the brotherhood of Metro, the fraternity. But he said, I miss most the structure. He said, I find myself in the middle of the morning and there's no one around to stop me from eating a quart of ice cream.
Right.
So to his credit, he started walking and many miles a day now, became quite fit or more fit after retirement. But I thought, wow, I talk about this in the start of all of my seminars as to, what is it you really want to get to? What are the non-financial things you want to do with your life? Because this last chapter of life should be the most meaningful. And his experience is like so many others, is that, how are you going to spend your days once you've broken through the prison walls, as you would say? And that is just so important. I'd encourage our listeners to think about that. And perhaps more importantly, if you're married or if you have a significant other in your life, a partner, that you're actually having these conversations. I always tell people who come to my class, our classes are phenomenal, but I think the greatest value is the drive to and from the class, from the university where the class is held, because people start talking about what's really most important to them. And that, at the end of the day, needs to be known before you jump off of the economic train that we call work, or get out of the prison that some people call work. So think about that, folks. There's far more to that than meets the eye.
Plan for retirement, big decision, folks. We urge you to be proactive, don't be reactive, and get a plan together in place. That is where Mark comes in, guys. He does all the heavy work. The hardest thing you have to do is pick up a phone, make the appointment, and then bring in maybe some statements if he asks you to. A lot of folks take that and they throw it out of the mailbox, they throw it on the kitchen table and never look at it again. Give him a call today. Again, that phone number, 702-996-4050. 702-996-4050. That website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. We've talked a lot before, Mark, how it's so important to check in each year with your advisor and kind of have like a look at your retirement accounts, do a little look back action. And along those lines, an article I read at Barron's.com talks about how something called portfolio drift. I want to know more about this. It's the idea that your retirement can become riskier even when you haven't made any moves at all. So can you explain how that can happen, first of all, and then what can be done about it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, portfolio drift is a big deal. I mean, when we are invested in the market, obviously there's going to be certain sectors of the market that are going to outperform other sectors, and it could be in your own portfolio that same thing happens. It's very common, and so things get out of balance is what happened. This idea of drift is just getting out of balance. So it may be that you started with, for example, 70% stock, 30% bond, and before you know it, you're 90% stock and only 10% bonds. And so you're much more aggressively positioned, and when the downturns hit, you're hurt more than you would expect to be. And so it's very important that portfolios be set up to be rebalanced on a regular basis. That can be automated with most advisors, certainly with our clients. We automate that because it's absolutely counterintuitive. It's not something that most do-it-yourself investors even know to do or remember to do. And so we have to go in and sell when certain things are high and buy when things are low, which is exactly opposite of what most people would want. But if we don't do that, again, we end up getting our fannies exposed when the market goes down. We can get spanked, and we just don't want that to happen. We're going to have security and dependability in retirement. That's the most important thing. So when it comes to meeting with your financial advisor, I insist on meeting with my clients at least once a year, preferably twice a year, and we're often meeting more than that through all the classes and events and things we're doing. But portfolio drift is just one of the many things we have to look at there, to constantly be tweaking the portfolio, be tweaking the retirement plan based on what's happened over the last year, because things change in life. That's the one constant, is everything changes. So we've got to stay on top of that. Let's meet regularly. So it's just critically important that you meet regularly with your advisor. And if you don't have an advisor, or you haven't had an advisor who does these kind of things for you, come visit with us. This is one of the many services that we provide. We can absolutely see if you're ready to retire and if your portfolio is appropriate for your current situation and for the long haul. Let us do a free portfolio diagnostic for you. Just schedule a meeting with us. We're here.
And again, you can do that. It's complimentary, by the way. Get more information about how Mark and the team can help you. That phone number, 702-996-4050. 702-996-4050. I also want to remind you that the majority of people that Mark helps, they are 55 and older, right? They're getting all the ducks in the row, and they at least have $250,000 saved in investable assets. Again, that phone number, 702-996-4050. That website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. Will 2026 be the year that Congress finally deals with the future of Social Security? You want to take a bet? I mean, we are here in Vegas. What do we think the odds are that they're going to finally get on this, Mark? What do you think?
0. I'm absolutely convinced they're not going to deal with it this year. The current administration has made clear that it's not a priority for them, the current administration. I'm not trying to get political or knock anyone. They've just said that they have other things that are more important to them, which I think is unfortunate because it puts us right back in the situation we were in over 40 years ago when Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill had to come together and save Social Security in the final moments. That's what I fear is going to happen here. We're going to get up to 2028, and then we're only going to have 2 or 3 years to deal with these problems. And so it's going to be a last-minute scramble at midnight for Congress, and that seems to be their modus operandi, as it were, their MO.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I'm sitting here going, yeah, me too. I think that too. Well, I mean, here's the deal. The clock is ticking. We're now less than 8 years away from the program's trust fund running out of money. A lot of people are concerned about this, and it could possibly be triggering a huge across-the-board cuts in benefits. Here's Mike Murphy with the Committee of Responsible Federal Budget on the Mandy Connell podcast.
But it's coming now. We need to get on it. So the issue here is Social Security. It's a vitally important federal program. There's 70 million people about on Social Security. There's going to be more by the time, 2033 rolls around. When we reach that point, by law, they are required, when it goes insolvent, to match what the scheduled benefits are with the revenues that are coming in. And when that happens, it would have to be in a 23% across the board cut. That is estimated to be equating to about $17,000 for the average middle income couple. It would be truly devastating.
Wow. I mean, guys, that's a big deal. That's a big thing right there. I mean, we roll with the dice here and just kind of see what happens, especially with the government, or is there a way, Mark, that you can help us plan ahead and prepare for these kind of cases?
We need to plan ahead. We need to not depend upon the government. I mean, generally speaking, I'm less concerned about people over the age of 50 because normally when these changes happen, they affect people under the age of 50. But, yes, we're talking about a 24% benefit reduction here in 2032 if things don't change. And I'm less and less encouraged by our current politicians and their spinelessness. And I don't mean to be negative. I'm just a little bit terrified by the fact that they're not prioritizing the things that are, it's become political theater now, instead of actually dealing with people's dignity, which is their ability to buy groceries. And so I don't mean to overstate the case, but for many people, this really is the ability to buy groceries. I remember as a teenager, I worked in a low-income neighborhood in a grocery store bagging groceries for people who lived solely, well, for the most part, on Social Security. And I saw a lot of cat food being bought. That's not just an urban myth. That is a horrible thing that I saw back in the early 80s as a teenager bagging groceries. And this is, I think, a very serious thing. That was, coincidentally, the very time when Social Security was going through these same problems that we're dealing with now. So I plead with people, meet with us, let us help you prepare for retirement. Don't plan on the government being your salvation because they never have been that. Social Security was never designed to be the sole source of income, let alone even a primary source of income. Come meet with us and see if you're ready. We can help you with that. It's a free consultation.
Yeah, free consultation for that Social Security income analysis. When and how should you take it? How does it impact the other finances within that plan? That's what you'll go over specifically with Mark. Again, if you're 55 and older, you have at least $250,000 saved, call right now, 702-996-4050. That's 702-996-4050. And that website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. Dolly Parton, she has canceled her upcoming Las Vegas residency. She says it's all due to some ongoing health challenges she's had. She just told fans that while she's improving and responding well to treatment,
It's going to take me a little while before I'm up to stage performance level because some of the meds and treatments make me a little bit swimmy-headed. And, of course, I can't be dizzy carrying around banjos, guitars, and such on 5-inch heels. Not to mention all those heavy rhinestone outfits, the big hair, my big personality. That would make anybody swim-headed. But just think of me as like an old classic car that once restored can be better than ever.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, I love Dolly Parton. I love that she's just funny and straightforward. Listen, here's the thing. When a health issue pops up, it happens to Dolly, it can happen to us, right? It can cancel the show real fast. So how do you help retirees build a plan for those medical costs so that health care and that health event doesn't blow up their income plan?
Now, we start very early with the conversation because over half of people retire earlier than expected, primarily due to health problems. And I say, God bless Dolly. I'd have loved to have seen her here in town, but she's working far beyond when most people can or would or should, and God bless her for that. But most people can't sustain like that, and most people, it's not like a classic car, unfortunately. Once the health goes bad, it often doesn't recover, at least materially enough to return to work. So we need to make sure we've got enough money prepared to carry us through retirement. We need to make sure that we've got preventive plans in place, proper insurance, for example, for those catastrophic situations that can arise, like long-term care, for example. That is so critical. I mean, that just bankrupts people in retirement. So come visit with us, folks. We'll do a healthcare readiness analysis for you. That's something that's very dear to my heart and something that we talk to everyone about. Come visit with us.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.